Thank
Okay.
you so much for being here today. Thanks for agreeing to do this and for spending this time with us to share with our audience your expertise, your background, and your experience. Um, to kind of kick things off, would you give us a little bit of your history and what you did before you got into drones and virtual tours, and then what led you into that business?
Well, all my life I've been a photographer. My not just professionally, but just
Hmm.
my dad was, and
Hmm.
literally he grew me up with a camera in my hand. He
That's
he
amazing.
started me off. I was probably 3 years old with my first Olympus camera.
Oh, wow. That's
Yeah,
awesome.
yeah, that was back in 60, 61, and he uh, he made sure that we took pictures together. We did a lot of stuff together.
That's cool.
When I got a little bit older, we started doing aerial photography with airplanes.
Oh, wow.
Um,
Okay.
yeah, he would fly and I'd hang out of the airplane at 10, 11 years old. My mom didn't care for that too much, but
Yeah, I'm sure.
yeah,
Where did you
yeah.
grow up? What
Do
what
what?
part of the country? What part of the country
Uh,
did you grow up in?
I was born in New York. Started my
Okay.
life off there for a while, and then moved to Missouri because my dad was an A&P mechanic, an
Okay.
airplane mechanic, and
Cool.
he started working for Boeing as an engineer for them. So, well, at
Okay.
that time it was McDonnell, then I went to McDonnell Douglas, and then Boeing.
Okay.
He got me into the RC airplanes.
Oh,
We
cool.
did dog fighting and stuff back when I was 13 through 16, 17 years old.
For
We
anyone who doesn't know, what does dogfighting mean when it in the context of
in
RC
in
airplanes?
RC airplanes, dogfighting, you've got basically a ribbon that comes off the back of your airplane, and
Hmm.
then that ribbon, if it gets cut by another airplane, then you're out. You've been shot.
Oh, cool.
So yeah, basically you're trying to chase down other RC airplanes and cut their ribbons off.
That's great. You like how I asked that question? That was really for me because I didn't know, but I knew it was something. For
Well,
those who don't know.
yeah, for those who didn't know. Yeah,
Yeah.
so and from there, I went into the corporate world for a long time. Uh, I started flying quadcopters
Hmm.
because RC
Wow.
airplanes are considered drones. But
Hmm.
started flying quadcopters about 18 years ago, and back then it was a lot harder to fly those things than it is now. Um, then I did a retirement from Lowe's. I was a manager at Lowe's,
Okay,
and
cool.
yeah, when I did that, I thought, well, I want to do something that's fun. I happened to keep seeing this ad on Facebook and other places to join Sky Eye Network. I did. I got into that, and that's where I started going into the 360 photography and uh, ran across CloudPano, and that's history from there. So
That's cool. Tell us
yeah,
about the Sky Network, because I'm familiar with it, from the periphery, if you will. Um, but I know that's what drew you in. So tell us a little bit
yeah.
about that.
Well, Sky Network's the largest drone entrepreneurs in the world. It's a group of us that are worldwide.
That's
Um,
cool.
we collaborate. We
Mm,
call ourselves a family, and we really are. I've made lifelong friends in this group.
that's cool.
It's amazing. I can go out there and ask a question, and somebody in that group is going to have done it or going to do it. And then people ask, and a lot of times I can answer. So
That's cool.
hopefully,
And you can
and then
refer business. I know
yeah,
when we needed a drone pilot, and for a specific project one time, reached out to you and you had us someone that afternoon,
yeah,
in that area, that was
yeah,
really helpful. That was
yeah.
amazing.
It's really neat to have that availability, and
Hmm.
I know that there's projects that several of us have done together as a group. So, which we wouldn't have known each other if we hadn't been in this group.
Yeah, that's really cool.
Plus the training they do. I mean, they have walked us through all our marketing, all our trainings to get where we are, to become a business.
Hmm. Yeah. And is that being a part of that is what got you into the virtual tour
Yeah,
space?
Yeah,
Okay.
one of their verticals that we have available to us to learn is 360 virtual tours. We
Okay.
call it Scenescape 360, but uh, it's good because that got me looking at places to do the 360 virtual tours.
Mm-hmm.
And with me wanting to do businesses, more so over real estate,
Mm-hmm.
CloudPano really stood out for me there because I can go into a business, change something, I can have it done almost instantly. If it's
Mm-hmm.
something that I can have on my phone while I'm standing there with them or my iPad while I'm standing there with them, I can change it right then. They don't change the link; it stays the same. It's like a coffee shop that I'm doing. I've got to go and redo it because he's done new floors and
Mm-hmm.
redoing the decor inside and stuff. So we'll be going in there and redoing that. But he doesn't have to change his link on his website or anything. So I
Yeah.
really love
Yeah.
that.
Thanks for highlighting that because that's, I think, something probably a lot of people don't consider as a value add for the duration of a B2B project is, someone pushes this out, on their socials, on their website, they embed it. It can be a headache to try to track down everywhere you've sent this in emails, and people save it as links and in Google Street View, on and on and on. And to be able to edit and update as your business evolves without having to update the link or the embeds, that is really valuable. So
Yeah,
that's
it
cool to
is.
hear how you're using it.
Yeah, that's my business customers are like, yeah, that's perfect. I don't have to worry about. Oh, I got to change something. No, I do
Well,
that for you.
yeah, that's great, and that can be a nice little segue into something I was hoping to talk with you about, which is, as kind of a drone first um, pilot business, how do you typically set yourself up to differentiate yourself from your competitors, and then also like communicate the value that you add when you're negotiating projects with people?
But in the drone business, there might be 4 or 5 of us that advertise in the. I'm in the Springfield Branson area, and there's
Mm-hmm.
only 4 or 5 of us that really advertise, and we all kind of do different stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So I do a lot of events and businesses and stuff where a lot of these guys are doing real estate.
Mm-hmm.
I've kind of stayed away from the real estate. I'm getting more and more into it just because it keeps coming back and people are asking for it. But I kind of stay
Yeah.
away from the real estate. So
Okay. And so that, it sounds like, was initially an intentional decision to be more focused on business B2B,
yeah, yeah,
but the market's kind of pulling you into
yeah, it
the
is.
real estate space. Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. Money talks, right? Yeah.
right. And
People want to pay
with
for it.
some of the new laws that they've got with real estate, they're looking to actually have to sell themselves. So they're looking for a little more professionalism.
Mm-hmm.
You can't just take a snapshot on your phone anymore and make that sell a house. So
Mm-hmm. Yeah, yeah. The
yeah,
market's changing.
it
We
is.
change with it. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's cool. So, what was it like for you? You joined this Sky Eye network. Just, we can put
Yeah.
the link in the show notes. Yeah, you joined Sky Eye. You learn how to launch a business. You've retired, and so this is um, maybe you have a little bit more flexibility, but breaking into a market and building a business, it's no small or easy task. Could you talk about kind of those early days for someone who is kind of early on themselves and getting started, just so they know that, it's doable, they can get to where you are, but what they're experiencing today is, they're not alone in that. What was that
No.
like for you, just, getting your name out there and
Yeah,
knocking
you
on
just
doors and
can't
hustling?
throw it on Facebook and all of a sudden expect money to come in.
Yeah.
No, it is work. It's not
Hmm.
okay. It's not physical work. It's a lot of it's mental. I mean,
Yeah.
you have to get out there every day, knock on doors, talk to people,
Mhm.
show them stuff. You know,
Mhm.
my biggest thing is to explain to them how I'm going to help their business. You
That's good.
you
Yeah.
know, I'm the professional here. I'll show you how I can help your business grow.
Mhm.
So if I can help you get more customers, make more
Mhm.
money, and then impress everybody with what
Mhm.
you've done, or
Yeah,
what I've
that's
done
good.
for
So,
you.
right, you're sitting on the same side of the table as the customer, kind of being a consultant expert and making them the hero, right? You're
Exactly.
not the hero that has all this cool stuff, this cool gadgets that, they might think it's cool, but they might not necessarily care, all the details of your cameras or drones as you do. But when you can talk about the value that they're going to receive from having an expert who has the amazing drones and cameras, etc., that can resonate. That's good.
Yeah, they
Did
don't
you?
care about my camera, my settings, or anything like that. They care
Yeah,
about results. You know.
yeah. Uh, did you? Because you have done this kind of your whole life in terms of from a hobby perspective. What was it like for you early on with your first project or two? Did you have quite a bit of material to show people? And did you create quite a bit of demos and examples? And how did you do that to get your first
Actually, that's
projects?
what was nice about Sky Eye Network. They gave us examples to get started with of what we could be
Cool.
doing. So,
Mm-hmm.
I could actually show some stuff. Um, since then, I have given examples of my 360s to other people that are wanting to
Nice.
get into this. And,
Mm-hmm.
I have to say that I've gotten quite a few people in our group to be using CloudPano because they're doing the business tours and the
Thank
automotive
you for
spin. So,
that.
hey, you're welcome.
Yeah.
But no, I mean it does. There's others out there, and
Mm-hmm.
specifically for real estate and stuff, other people use some other ones. But I really like it. Like I said, I really like it because I do businesses, and I can do so much
Mm-hmm.
with it in businesses.
Yeah, that's
So,
that's cool. What
but
were
yeah,
some of
starting
the?
off was really tough.
Mm-hmm.
Like I said, a lot of door knocking, a lot of no's.
Yeah,
For every 90 no's, I get one yes. That's
yeah,
what it felt like. It really wasn't that
sure.
bad. I started off
Yeah.
with friends that I knew that had businesses, and then I would go and offer them special deals, and then let
Mm-hmm.
them give me free referrals. And
I was going to ask about referrals and
yeah,
networking. That's
referrals are huge.
yeah, yeah, that's great. And did you, when it comes to networking, you had your network with the Sky Eye network from a biz dev perspective, and kind of had people around you that could bounce ideas off of and whatnot. But locally, um, you had your personal network. Were there any other professional networks that you got plugged into, or groups like that?
I think my biggest one is the Chamber of Commerce in the area. Um, you
Okay.
know, get in with the chambers. That's where well, in my case, that's where all the businesses are.
Hmm.
And that's who I cater to is the
Hmm.
businesses. So
Sure.
that's really been a huge one for me. I've tried some of the other networking things.
Hmm.
They just don't seem to work as well as just doing chamber stuff.
Yeah, you need to go where you get the best ROI.
Yep.
Um, and that takes trial and error. So you have tried multiple things, and that's what you found, at least in
Yep.
in your market, what's
Yep.
best and most ideal. Yeah, that makes sense. What about social media, digital marketing? Um, has that changed over the years for you? Did you spend more or less time early on? Do you spend more or less time now? What does
I
that look like?
would spend more time now.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, you know, at my age, I didn't think I'd ever use TikTok.
Uh-huh.
I do.
Nice.
We advertise on TikTok.
Uh-huh.
Luckily, I've got 13 grandkids that can help me through that.
That's great. That's fun. That's you got some tax advantages there too, right?
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
and
those
our whole
subcontractors.
business is family. I mean,
That's cool.
myself, my son-in-law is a pilot, one of my pilots, and
Oh,
then my
cool.
daughter is my main photographer, along with one of the granddaughters. She does photography for us.
Wow, that's
Even
amazing.
even the littles help out when we go do events. They'll be packing up gear and getting it ready. So it's
Oh,
really
that's
good.
amazing. I love that. That's going to be some of the best memories, I'm sure. I was going to
Really,
ask if you had, multiple, you had a team or what that looked like. So you just answered it.
yeah.
That's cool. At what point did you start bringing on family members and, team members and building things out? How long did it take you from when you first started your business to to get to that
You
place?
know, they were behind me right away, which
Okay.
you know, the big warnings from everybody, and I've had a few other businesses in my life, but the big thing is, people usually are like, well, you're not going to make it in that, you're not going to do that. Well,
Mm.
luckily, my family was right behind me all the way. All the kids and all the grandkids are just, we're of course they all want to play with the drones.
Yeah. I'm sure.
Yeah,
That's
but
that's
no,
that's great.
it's been really good. Within matter of the first year or so, I started doing things that, especially doing events. If I was flying the drone, then the others could be doing photography on the ground.
Hmm.
So it was,
That's cool.
yeah, it started off pretty quickly with
What was your most memorable project so far?
that. Most memorable. I would say that anything with um, breast cancer awareness.
Mm.
We belong to a group, Keeping for a Cure, in Springfield area, that does a run every year for breast cancer. I lost my sister a few years ago to metastatic breast cancer,
I'm so
so
sorry.
that's one that's near and dear to me, and I'll
Hmm.
put a lot of time and effort into it.
That's amazing. So you're able to use your passion and your business to also help promote and support causes.
Yeah,
That's
I mean, we just
that's really neat.
we just went out and closed down Monette Airport for 3 hours while we filmed a commercial or promotional video
Hmm.
out there on the runway. So
Wow,
pretty
that's
neat.
really neat. Yeah. So in with projects like that, or with the chamber, in your niche, that just made me think. Do you find a lot of value in what I would call a channel partner with people that are doing commercials, or maybe it's with uh, TV stations or other marketers in your area that you kind of bolt on your services with? Do you have a lot of channel
I really
partnerships with
haven't.
like that?
Most
Okay.
of it is I do a lot of events for nonprofits,
Mm-hmm.
and that's kind of a segue into some of the, because there's a lot of other businesses that support those nonprofits. The
Yeah.
next thing you know, they're contacting me, going, "Hey, you
Mm-hmm.
did this for, you know,
Mm-hmm.
uh, you know, uh, the grief center, or you did this for
Mm-hmm.
breast cancer, or you did this." So we do a lot of that.
Okay, that's really neat. I think that's a really amazing way to use your talents and gifts to help your community. And then you're not doing it to benefit your business per se, because you're doing it out of, your desire
Yeah.
to help out the cause. But then there's this amazing catalyst and, tailwind to your business and that through that. That's really cool.
Yeah.
Um, Great. Um, do you want to, can we talk a little bit about some fun, tech and hardware that you use?
Mm.
What are some of your favorite drones, and what do you like about them?
I have to say my Mavic 3 is probably my most used drone.
Mm-hmm.
It gets used quite a bit for everything from my uh, high end photos to my
Mm-hmm.
cinematic stuff.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, I really don't have a favorite one.
Mm-hmm.
I did like my FPV drone until I crashed it, which was about 60 seconds into the first flight.
Oh no.
Yeah,
Oh no.
I found out real quick that it doesn't fly the same as
Mm.
your standard drones do.
Mm-hmm.
A whole different world there, and uh, it's a big learning curve. So uh, I plan on picking that back up again once I start getting other things in place. So we'll stick with the regular drones for now.
All right. Any tips for someone who might be in the virtual tour space and doesn't have a lot of experience with drones but wants to get into drones? What would be a good starter drone for them?
Good starter drone would be I know there's a lot of controversy on the DJI, but the DJI 4 Mini 4 is really a good drone. It's got a great
Okay.
camera on it.
Mm-hmm.
It's easy to fly.
Mm-hmm.
It's got a lot of neat features, and one of the features that I use a lot with my 360s is there's a 360. It's an automatic button basically that I put it in the air, get it in front of whatever business I'm doing,
Mm-hmm.
click the button, it does the 360 for me. So I actually start
Nice.
outside the building with that so
Mm-hmm.
people can look around and see where that business is.
Mm-hmm.
And then they can come into the business, of course, and look around and see all the
Yeah,
good stuff in there.
that's cool.
Yeah.
Um, do you typically fly your drone into businesses very often, or
I'll usually fly it to the front door. I don't do a lot
that's
of
the door?
flying in the business unless it's got a
Mm-hmm.
good opening.
Mm-hmm.
But I have flown inside one of our local gun shops
Okay,
because they asked me to. Uh,
that's cool.
yeah, that was that was probably one of my neatest and most learning experience because it's a massive store.
Hmm.
They don't do
Tell us
just
about it.
they do a
What did you
lot of
learn?
stuff. I learned less is more.
Hmm.
When I was taking the panels, I probably took over 100 panels inside there.
Wow.
And when I was putting it all together, it's like, oh my gosh, do I need to go up and down every aisle?
Yeah.
No, you don't.
Mm-hmm.
You know, so you want to catch the nuance of
Mm-hmm.
the place, catch some things that they want to highlight. So
Mm-hmm.
talk to the customer, ask him what he wants to highlight or she wants to highlight.
Mm-hmm.
Because that's where you're going to spend most of it.
That's yeah. That's really cool, and I think
But yeah,
um,
it's a huge shop. Matter of fact, I've got to go back out. They added more building to it, and
oh
I've got to go
wow.
back out there and do it again. So yeah.
Well, that's cool. We'll have to. Could you send me a link to that tour so that we could put it in the show notes? That'd be fun to see.
Sure, sure, yeah,
Okay. Awesome.
yeah.
Cool. Um, what? Oh, and I was going to ask too. What does that start out? I think it was the DJI drone. You said would be a good starter drone. What does that typically cost? Do you know
I
off
want
the
to
top
say
of
it's
your head?
between $500 and $600.
Very reasonable then.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, it's
That's
reasonable.
fairly accessible. Cool.
Yeah.
Excellent. Okay. I was going to talk to you about, kind of marketing and networking. We already covered that. Um, do you, uh, specifically in the virtual tour space, because again, you do a lot of drone stuff, do you have any tips for someone that's marketing specifically virtual tours versus maybe um, the just kind of a general overview type tour, kind of like what you're talking about with the um, sitting on the same side of the table as the business owner, as less is more. Do you have any other tips like that for someone who's wanting to
You
get
know,
into B2B?
take your 360 camera with you when you're going to talk to these people.
Okay.
Once you get a sit down meeting with them, set the
Mm-hmm.
camera up in the room you're in. Uh, Take your iPad or your phone or whatever it's connected
Mm-hmm.
to. Show
Mm-hmm.
them what you're going to be looking at. Let them see that.
Mm-hmm.
I haven't done the goggle thing. I know
Mm-hmm.
Zach talked about that. I
Yeah.
haven't done that one, but the only thing with me on that is, the only way I can do it is with like a cardboard one in my phone,
Mm-hmm.
which looks really good, but it's hard to move around to
Mm-hmm.
different panels in there. So, but that would be a neat way to show it off too. But you want to show your customer
Sure.
what you're going to be doing. So somebody must have come past out front of the house. So.
Yeah. Oh, it's all good.
But yeah, it's
That's.
just a matter of sitting with the customer, if
Mm-hmm.
and showing them, because it is so impressive to see your own shop in a 360 tour, or just in a
Yeah.
single 360 while you're sitting there.
Mm-hmm.
And I've got I use the Theta 360 cameras, and I've got a Z1 which works really well for me, and I can see everything that I'm taking a picture of right there, and I can
Yeah.
rotate it around and look at it. So
Mm-hmm.
I just show the customer that, and they're like, "Yeah, I want that."
Yeah, that's cool.
Then we start talking price.
What has been some of your biggest challenges that you've faced and or overcome and
I
growing
think the
your
biggest
business so far?
challenge is actually that getting in front of the decision makers.
Mm-hmm.
It's a lot of, you don't expect to do it in just one shot of walking in and, oh, I'm going to talk to the decision maker. We're
Mm-hmm.
going to sit down. We're going to sell this.
Mm-hmm.
No, sometimes it's taken me, you know, uh, 3, 4, 5 times to get in there and talk to the right person, or
Yeah.
that person, seeing it and then wanting it, and maybe
Mm-hmm.
even calling me later to ask for it. So, I've got one that I'm working on now that's a major, major one. That's a city that, you know, I've been working on it for almost a year. So, I
Yeah.
have to come to each of their hurdles and jump them.
Mm-hmm.
So,
Well, perfect segue because that was the next thing was to see, what would be the biggest project you think you've done to date, and as I understand, it's that city.
yeah.
So yeah, what was that? Um, how did you get in front of decision makers there? Then how did you
Uh,
nurture that
Emails. I
along?
started off with emails, found
Mm-hmm.
out who was actually the ones to make the initial meetings with.
Mm-hmm.
Did the city have a marketing group? Yes, they do. So I got in front of them,
Mm-hmm.
showing them what we can do. Uh, so it's going to be a really really nice one, very big. So I'm excited, and yeah, it's going to take me over a year to get this all taken care of, but it's going to be good.
Yeah. Well, tell us how big. Earlier you told me how many acres, how many
Yeah,
storefronts,
we're
business.
going to
Yeah.
do their main part of their town, which is like 61 acres. So we're going to have
Uh-huh.
several aerial 360s that will drop down into each location of their town. Like down into their main street, which,
Mm-hmm.
and then they've got, I want to say it's 60 shops, 18 restaurants, a couple of churches, and we want to highlight all of those. So we're looking at probably upward of 1,000 panos when it's all said and done.
Wow.
So yeah,
That's
but
that's amazing.
yeah,
Uh, and you said it'll take you about a year to deliver it, and
yeah,
it's taken you about a year to iron out the details, go
details.
through the back and forth, get the decision makers. And so you cold called them basically, it sounds
Yeah,
like.
yeah. I
Yeah,
start off
that's
with a cold
amazing.
call.
Yeah, and now you've got a year's worth of work.
Yeah,
Um, yeah, that's amazing. Will you be doing all of the editing yourself, or do you outsource any editing, or what
I'll
does that look like?
source the editing of the photos,
Mm-hmm.
um, but as far as putting it all together,
Mm-hmm.
we've got actually, I think there's 4 companies within Sky Network that we're all going to get together, and each of them is going to take a section of it and help work on it. So,
Cool.
yeah.
And do you mind saying, in the ballpark of what this year's worth of work to get the project and then year's worth of work is going to look like?
We're looking at about 150 to 180,000.
Nice.
Yeah,
Well done. That's
yeah.
awesome.
So, and then that doesn't include the hosting. So, you know,
Yeah, there you go.
hosting and
Absolutely.
then changing it because,
Yep.
um, they're really big on their festivals and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So they want to highlight almost all of their festivals.
Mm-hmm.
That means going in during that year and
Mm-hmm.
reshooting a lot of the stuff to cover that festival. So,
That's amazing.
yeah.
Yeah, and so things like that, like when you went into it, did you have an idea of what kind of scope they would want, or what was your expectation going into it?
My expectation was just getting a few shots around town and
Uh-huh.
helping them out, kind of like a Google Street View only
Mm-hmm.
on steroids is what I was planning
Yeah.
on, and now all of a sudden
Uh-huh.
it's turning into a lot more.
Yeah.
So
That's amazing.
yeah,
So yeah, I think it's so helpful for people to understand that cold calling, hustling, following up, finding the decision maker, and then, like you said early on, sitting on the same side of the table with them. You're trying
yeah,
to help them accomplish what's going to make them look the best to their customers, right? It's looking at everything through the eyes of the person who's actually interacting with the tour. And then when you approach it in that way and you're working with them, you're not just pitching them and trying to close, just the first thing you could. Like you're doing discovery with them, how can we collaborate and add as much value as possible to the end user of this media marketing asset. Then it can grow from a few shots to 150, $180,000 project,
Yeah, yeah.
a year-long engagement. Yeah,
It
I
is,
love that.
and it's really nice, and like you said, uh, follow up's a huge one. If you don't follow up, the customer's not
Hmm.
going to think anything of you. You
Yeah.
know, if somebody doesn't follow up on, somebody's trying to sell me an ad for my business,
Hmm.
if I'm kind of interested and they don't follow up, I'll probably go somewhere else if I really
Yeah.
want that.
Hmm.
So, well, and then listening to them. Uh,
Hmm.
90% of it is listening. Just listen to what they want.
Hmm.
Give them what they want.
Yeah.
Suggest things. Because you might
Hmm.
see, oh, okay, you want this, but why don't we add a little bit here to it that
Hmm.
your customer's going to say, hey, look at this. I can do this here. Like on the coffee
Yeah.
shop, we've got a spot on there, an info spot that you can click on and actually order the coffee and DoorDash it right there. So,
Wow.
you know,
That's great. Yeah.
yeah.
And then do you want to talk about some of the um, nuances of negotiation that you've worked through as it relates to um, certain like ADA requirements and things like that that you've,
That's a big one with
uh,
the city, and you're going to start
yeah.
finding that a lot more.
Hmm.
Is that they wanted it to be ADA visually impaired compliant.
Hmm.
Um, had to do a lot of research on that because I didn't know anything about. I mean, I've heard it before, but I've
Sure.
never
Yeah.
delved in to see what I was going to need to do with it. So it looks like with the city, what we're going to do is work out until we can actually completely make it compliant, which I don't think they have to have it compliant for another till 2026. I think is when it has to be compliant.
Hmm. Okay.
Um, so what I'm working with them is that I will. There's my dog. And working with them that I will change it over to that for free for them. So I know it's going to be some extra work on our part to
Hmm.
change that over, but you know we want to take that on just because I want to show them that we're really involved in what they're doing, what they're looking for, and
Hmm.
what they're needing. And
Yeah.
matter of fact, I've worked with the um, what is it, the Institute for the Blind here in Springfield.
Hmm.
I've got a couple of people that are visually impaired that are helping me work on my end of it. And of course, I've been working with CloudPano on trying
Hmm.
to get things figured out what we can do on that end too.
Right.
So, but you
Yeah.
guys have been a great help on that.
Well, that's I really appreciate you saying that, and it's something that I always want to highlight is it's you're the ones using the software, you're the ones promoting and selling it and out in the market, and so when you have needs like this that come up, we want to hear about that. We want to be able to evolve the software as markets change, as needs change, and so being able to collaborate on things like this is it's good for us. It's good for everyone else too. Um, so yeah, that's exciting. That's a huge project, and
Yeah,
I think it's fun for people to hear that, and I think it's just really healthy to understand all that went into getting that project and what it's going to take to deliver it. It's not like it happened overnight. You just showed up day one and you're getting a six uh, plus figure project. It's a lot of years of work, dedication, honing your craft, being able to show that you have the capability to deliver on that, and then working through the unique nuances of even things such as ADA requirements that are 2 years in the future. It's 2024 right now.
yeah,
That's those are things that um, a professional is going to do, and it's going to set you apart and help you land projects like that. So that's great. Um, well, those were the kind of the main questions and topics I thought would be fun to talk about today. Do you have any other kind of parting sage wisdom or words of advice for our listeners and our audience? Anything else
well,
you'd like to
as
say?
we said in our network, get out there and do the do.
Yeah, I
Basically,
love it.
shake hands,
Yeah.
get to know people,
Hmm.
join your chamber, talk to businesses around there. And then again, remember, this isn't a walk in, sell it, and you're done. You
Right.
want to make a relationship with these people.
Hmm.
I've got one I did 3 years ago that I'm going to go back to and talk to on Friday that they want to upgrade it. So,
That's great.
staying in contact with them.
Hmm.
They're like, well, we don't need anything. And then I talked about some of the new things that we can do for them. And they're like, okay, let's go. So,
That's
they,
great.
they trust me. They know me.
Hmm.
If you build a relationship with them, you're gonna do good. So that's the thing. Build your relationship, do the do, get out there and shake hands. Put the time in, put the work in, and then just have fun with it.
I love
It
it.
is fun.
That's,
It is fun.
yeah, that's great. Well, Bill, thank you so much for being here. I'll get links from you to put in our show notes so people can find out where to see your cool projects and follow you. Is there, could you give a plug for your business too for anyone who might find this in our local area?
Yeah. Deep Light Services LLC. You can find us on Facebook. There's 2 pages. I got hacked. Imagine
Oh,
that being
no.
hacked on Facebook. So it's the B Flight Services LLC, not B Flight Aerial Services. So
Okay. All right. We'll make sure to get
that's
the
a
right
good
one
one.
in the
And
show
then
notes.
yeah, bflightservices.com. So
Excellent.
yep,
Thanks so much, Bill. I appreciate it. And can't wait to see that big city project when it's all done.
yeah, me too.
Cool.
Thank you very much.
Absolutely.